Alright everybody, so I'm gonna showcase my little Yoimiya on my alternative account. So she's finally built. So with talent levels 8, 8 and 6, obviously tomorrow and so on is Sunday, so I'll try and push it up even further. But I've been having an absolute blast playing with her, trying different team comps and so on. So I'm just gonna sort of show you some of my favorite variations in this Spiral Abyss, and hopefully you guys can enjoy it. So what did I learn about Yoimiya? Well, the biggest thing is she is one of those non-obvious characters. So for instance, very much like Yaemiko and Kuki Shinobu. In other words, you really need to play with the character, have a lot of like practical play experience before you can really sort of judge them. And I think this is why she is so misunderstood, and also why I initially, if you go back like a year ago, sort of really unfairly judged her. So I do sort of take back everything I did say about Yoimiya. Um, but yeah, I've been really, really pleasantly surprised. So I think the reason why she was like misunderstood and so on is basically because she does not obviously fit into any sort of like popular meta team comps at that time and so on. It's not like a character like Yelan that if you had to take Yelan and you transported her to the Uemia era, I think a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, Yelan is kind of cool because on the surface of it, she's got a lot of functional similarities to Xingshu, even though they are kind of worlds apart. But it's obvious how you fit Yelan into a lot of the sort of, let's say, Hutao, vaporized team comps, replacing Xingshu in, let's say, a national team comp and so on. But a character like Yoimiya is not that obvious. She does actually demand of you to play her a bit differently. You can't just play a rotation, as they sort of call it in theory crafting. And this is the sort of key thing that I sort of want to highlight. Yoimiya is one of those characters that allows you to be way more flexible, but you gotta know what you're doing with her. So she's not a character that, oh, I press a certain button in certain orders and that's just sort of the end all and be all of her playstyle. No, Yoimiya is a character that is much more dynamic, and that's why I think, especially against a multitude of enemies and so on, she is kind of fun to sort of play with. Against the big single targets, bosses and so on, yeah, you would probably use a rotation, but once you've gotten a lot of little enemies and you've got the Oro Blaze and so on, Yoimiya really sort of comes into her own in terms of the creativity you need in order to sort of use her. And it's kind of fun. She really is a fun unit. There's also some really funny things that you can also do with her elemental burst in terms of dodging certain field effects like from the Rift Hound and so on, but that is like just that's something for another day. As you probably saw here in the background as well, we just absolutely destroyed the Fatui and so on with Yoimiya, and I really enjoyed it so much. I actually played this floor quite a bit. Just that taser, vaporize, overload, sort of just almost like reaction-based team comp, just with Yoimiya just hitting so quickly. It's just so satisfying. Yeah, and here you can see on my sort of other floor, I've got Yaimiko instead of Beidou in here, and this is mostly just to sort of help with a bit of the single target focus that we need. But you can see here that this is not an obvious team comp that you might have seen anyone else play with, but it is so much fun, and it's a team comp that you really do need to manage, but once you do, the team is like so satisfying, and this is what I just love about it. I love it when units sort of give you or just like make other units like become alive and so on. And I think this is the cool thing that I've seen with Yoimiya. Just, it's just, I must say, her elemental burst is like one of the prettiest in the game. So I've really enjoyed it. You guys can tell, I'm very pleasantly surprised with the character. Yeah, so the character, she is not the top meta Hutao sort of like godlike damage and so on. But you know what she is? She's way more fun to play than Hutao. So I'll just sort of say it like straight like that. And that is why I sort of like the character. I've always just used Xiangling and sort of Klee, and you guys know I really like Klee as well. But the problem is well, Xiangling is so dependent on her burst, and well, Klee is obviously requires a bit of like field time and so on. So having a character like Yoimiya that I can interweave being on field and then sort of keeping off field, and having a continuous pyro application for these sort of AoE type effects that you've sort of seen now in the background and so on, that's kind of fun. That is very fresh and so on, for me at least. So as a pyro unit, she's definitely a solid part of my roster and so on. I just don't know what I'm going to do on my main account, because on my main account I really only have Klee. I do have a spare Hu Tao, but Hu Tao in a certain sense just feels restrictive, whereas Yoimiya feels like, well, as long as I pair her with someone like a Yelan and so on, the other units can be variable. Like, it really doesn't matter. I must say, Yelan Yoimiya is a very good combo and so on. So yeah. But guys, that is it from my side. I'm gonna just then sort of keep quiet for the final big boss rush and so on. Tell me what you guys think of Yoimiya, what the character is like for you. There's obviously a bit of Yoimiya tech and so on, but I don't I'm not really going to sort of cover it in this video alone, but yeah, certainly I'm very happy with the character. So just before I sign off and we go to the final floor, let me just sort of give you like a little fancy fireworks display, killing the Ruin Guard, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment sections below, and cheers.
呪言律流6308式ユニット吸引テスト開始呪言律流超拡散形態振動の権限呪言律流チョック捕まえたほっはっと糸よ工作せよ聞いてるぜ呪言チョック呪言安全距離確認6308式ユニット花火に